Hey, there's one booming today. I want to talk about marijuana. Yeah, that's right. Doing that now. Enjoy the video. So I've heard a lot of different arguments about marijuana being legalized in America, and to be honest, it actually isn't that many. It's been two. It's been everybody should be able to have it, should be legal, or it's evil, and you'll fall victim to reefer madness if you smoke it. I've heard it's the devil's lettuce, and I've also heard that it is not addictive, it's just a plant that makes you feel good. In fact, it actually doesn't make everybody feel good. Some people get really paranoid, and some people get very scared and violent when they have it, actually. So, if you have this idea that marijuana is just a chill leaf that makes you calm down, it's really not. There's tons of studies, and I'm not going to link it all here and put a bunch of pictures on my video for it, but it's a pretty common thing. You look it up, people can actually get violent, scared, paranoid, and just have huge panic attacks because of it. So, no, it's not just a chill leaf. But it also doesn't cause everybody to go crazy. It's not like heroin, and no, it's not like cocaine. But the idea that you can't become addicted to marijuana is actually totally false. Tons of doctors have come out and said they've had hundreds of people in droves come and say I have an addiction to marijuana, and that's interesting, isn't it? Of course, we only believe doctors when we need help and not when we're trying to prove a point, but yeah, doctors have admitted that people have become addicted to marijuana. For a long time, I've known it affects your mood, your memory, and your dopamine levels. Everybody knows this. Unless you're really deluded or you're only hanging out with potheads, you're probably going to hear somebody say this: weed can make you unhappy. If you smoke enough weed to calm down, to chill out, to get into a better place in your head, you'll eventually get to the point where you can't get to that place without weed. It messes with your dopamine levels. And if you don't know what dopamine is, look it up. It's a huge factor in how you feel. If you fucked up your dopamine receptors by smoking too much weed, that's a problem. So the point I have to make when it comes to marijuana being legalized is not it's bad or it's good. I have friends that when they smoke it, they're chill. They're totally calm. They lighten up. They loosen up a bit. I know what it's doing to their body and their lungs and their mind, but I eat junk food, and my parents sometimes drink a lot of beer. They're not alcoholics and my friends aren't druggies, but it's just we're not all super kind to our bodies all the time. But my question is, when it comes to it being legalized, and it's been 2 minutes and 30 seconds into this, and you're probably wondering where I'm getting to the point here. Do we need it? Do we need another substance to medicate our feelings? An other thing to take off a layer of our cognitive ability, our mental state being deteriorated by yet another substance? Why? Why do we need that? Do you know why people say they need weed to calm down? Is because they've smoked weed to calm down before. Meaning they don't have the mental maturity or endurance or the emotional maturity and endurance to actually calm down and be chilled out on their own. They become dependent. A very, very similar thing happens with coffee. If you drink coffee every morning, I was gonna say day, mess up with morning, you'll forgive me. If you drink coffee every morning, you'll get to this state where you need it to wake up, and you need it to feel awake. Now, this is a terrible thing, because once you drink too much of it, and then go without it, you'll get a headache, you'll feel tired, you'll feel angry. It's a bad thing. You can become addicted to coffee. I have dealt with on and off coffee addiction, and coffee addiction is something you can kick in under a week. It's not a big deal. I'm not saying I beat cancer or anything. I'm just saying I've gone through a caffeine addiction that was so bad that when I stopped drinking coffee for one morning, and it got past like 2 hours past when I usually drink my coffee, and I hadn't had it yet, I was angry. I was physically mad. My head hurt. I was overheating. I was itchy. I took a shower. It didn't change. And I had this pounding headache all day. My eyes hurt. I drank a little bit of coffee, and as I was drinking it, I could feel it melt, my headache and everything melting away. It was terrible, and that's when I realized I don't want to feel dependent on any sort of substance. So maybe marijuana isn't as bad as alcohol for you. There's been a lot of studies that say actually marijuana will kill you a lot less sooner than alcohol. If you drink a ton of beer every night, that's not as bad as drinking or smoking a ton of weed every night. Apparently. There's been some different things I've looked up, and people have said different things, but the main thing I've heard is that alcohol's worse for you than weed. So even if weed is better for you than alcohol, not better for you, just not as bad, why do we need it though? I mean, even if it's better, why do we need one more thing to medicate our minds and again, chop away at our cognitive ability? Why? Do you really need it? Legalized and commercialized? I'm sorry, but if you are dependent on a substance like that, that's terrible. That's not a good thing. A stoner to me, or a pothead to me, is somebody that needs help, not somebody who's super chill all the time. I've had a friend who had a friend, so pardon me if the story doesn't end up being proven true, if it ever will be, but he said his friend's his mental state got slowly deteriorated, and even when the guy stopped smoking weed, his memory, his ability to hold a conversation is just gone. Like he fried his brain on it. And especially if you're younger, if you're like 15 or 16 or even 18 and you're smoking a ton of weed, that fucks with your head. It can make you paranoid and angry later in life. I have family members. I have several family members that if I get close to them and they don't know I'm standing there, they'll turn around and they will freak the fuck out. They don't get startled. They get scared. And a long time ago I was young, I asked them, I was like, why do you get so startled if I'm near you or if I tap you on the shoulder? They would laugh and say, too many drugs in high school. I thought, okay, that's the thing that adults say. Fast forward to today, and I've been looking stuff up for the last several weeks on this, and that's actually pretty conclusive. If you do a lot of drugs, you, well, deteriorate your mental state. So, as much as, smoking cigarettes and drinking alcohol is terrible for you, it really is, it's terrible for your liver, it's terrible for your lungs, it's terrible for your entire body, really. As much as that's terrible, even if weed is better than smoking a cigarette and drinking, a crap ton of beer, why do we need one more thing? Why is this society so, fixated on having another drug, another substance, another thing we can use to medicate our own mentality? I don't like it. I don't think anybody should rely on a substance. I think everybody should have the emotional and mental endurance to calm themselves down, to chill themselves out, to rationalize things, to relax without the use of an exterior substance. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys agreed with me. And if you have anybody that's dealing with marijuana or drugs, just let them know that you care about them and that you don't want them to go down a path of, slowly deteriorating their own mind. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you when I see you. Another thing is, if you're going to argue with me, if you've stayed till this point, if you're going to argue with me in the comments or whatever, just know this is stuff I've looked up and put a lot of research into. So if you're just going to come at me with it doesn't, or it doesn't for me, or it doesn't matter, or whatever, this is stuff I've looked up. You can actually find studies of doctors saying that people have come to them with marijuana addictions. It's a real thing, and I don't think it should be legalized in our country. I'll see you when I see you. Goodbye.
Smoke weed every day. Smoke weed every day. Smoke weed every day. Smoke weed every day.
You made the entire CDP pro.